everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shamira Benson, one part of Team Benson, and today is one of my favorite times of year because it is time to plant some of my spring garden. So we're gonna drop some seeds today. If you guys are new to my channel, big welcome. I am Shamira. I am a desert Jewish gardener here in the Arizona Desert Zone 9B. I garden all year long, even when we are a million degrees outside. Yes, it is possible. And right now I have a full garden, but it's time to start planting for the spring, which means we have to put in some seeds. So if you guys are not new to my garden and you have been here this entire time, thank you guys. I really appreciate all of the support. So let's talk about seeds in the garden. Now, one of my favorite things to do is just to drop seeds in the ground, and I can do that at this time. So that means that I don't have to worry about bringing out the seed starting mix and starting them and putting them underneath the grow lights and all that fun stuff. I can just simply put them in the ground. They grow just fine. Once I get my garden on a really good schedule of what things that I want to plant and what places that I have room in, this is possible to do. It's when my garden is too full and I don't have those spots that then I have to then plan ahead, or if I'm planning ahead for, like, let's say the fall. The fall I typically have to start things indoors, but during the spring it is cold enough for them not to germinate right away, but it's warm enough for them to germinate at the time they're supposed to germinate and not die. So let's talk about the seeds that I have that I'm going to be planting, and then after that I'll show you guys where I'm going to be planting them at. First up is going to be lots of green beans, and I'm going to plant them in different types of pots and places and grounds and all those different things like that. So first off, I have my bush beans. Now, bush beans are nice because you don't need a huge growing space to grow them. If you grow them in the ground, they do really bush out and get pretty big. I've had, if you guys remember my garden last year or last season, I had provider bush beans, and each plant was pretty bushy, and I planted them in the wrong space because I thought that they were a pole bean. We learned some, we lose some, but we learned some more, something like that. But anyways, they're nice if you have a small space because you can plant just bush beans. You don't have to worry about big vines or anything like that, but you can also plant them in very small spaces, like little pots. So on my list, I have big kahuna bush beans, I have provider beans, and I also have royal burgundy beans. Now, these are some of my favorite beans to plant, and I love how colorful they are. This one turns out really pretty, even though it doesn't stay that way when you cook it. The provider bean, I tried it last year for the fall, and it grew really well until a certain point. So I know that this will probably be a good spring bean. And then my big kahunas, I grow them fall and winter when I grow some of my other beans in the fall, just because these ones grow really, really good and you get a lot of beans per plant. Now for my pole beans, I'm going to grow some Kentucky pole beans. Now, if you guys remember, I also do grow my rattlesnake pole beans. I don't have any rattlesnake pole bean seeds. All I have are the two seeds that are left on that arch. So I will be growing those on that arch and probably this on the opposite side of it. But yeah, I do need to kind of re-up my supply of rattlesnake pole beans. So those will be included in this, but those are just drying on the arch. And then I have some Chinese red long noodle beans. If you guys haven't grown these, they're quite fun to grow just because they get really, really long. I think that they taste somewhat as good as a green bean, but they're not as like thick as a green bean, if that makes sense. They're kind of like, they're not as like fleshy as a green bean. So I do like them. I enjoy growing them, and it provides a lot because you can take like maybe like 4 of these green beans and it'll equal like a pot of like you snapping a whole bunch of other green beans. So let me show you guys where I'm going to put all these. So for my beans, the plan is to plant one of the Kentucky pole beans right here. And then as you can see, I have just one drying right here. This is the rattlesnake pole bean. I'm going to plant that on this side to hopefully try and give myself some more seeds. Hopefully I know I have 2 in there that I can fill. It looks like maybe 3. It looks like there might be 2 down there. But hopefully there's at least like, 2 or 3 I can plant right there. I can build up the soil on this side and this side. without having to fill in the rest of it, just so I can go ahead and plant the beans. Now over here is where I plan to plant my Chinese red long noodle beans. As you guys know, my Armenian cucumber, my most beloved plant in my garden, is going to be right here. So this is going to take over majority of the space when it comes to being over here, but the Chinese red long noodle beans don't grow huge leaves. So by the time that the Armenian cucumber reaches about here and is taking over the top of this, the Chinese red long noodle beans should hopefully already have a firm grip of the arch, and then the Armenian cucumber can just cover what it needs to cover, and it'll help keep the beans shaded during the hottest part of the summer. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping for. And the last part are bush beans, which are just going to be all of the Dollar Tree pots. So every single Dollar Tree pot that I have, I'm going to plant bush beans. I'm going to do like one of Kentucky, not Kentucky, but Big Kahuna, one purple, and one Pioneer, or two Pioneer, however I get. But all of these are going to be bush beans. So up next, we're going to go to the front side of my garden where I have my herb bin, and we are going to grow a couple more herbs. We're going to grow some more cilantro because if you know, you know, once it heats up, you can't grow cilantro here in the desert, so you might as well take advantage of it. I love to grab my cilantro, chop it up, and freeze it. Although cilantro is like 59 cents at the grocery store, it does always taste better when you grow it in your own garden. I will say that. And as somebody that makes cilantro heavy foods like cilantro and pea chicken soup, or like a cilantro like cilantro and pastas, different things like that. My brain just went blank. But I like to have a good quality cilantro. So it's better for me to grow as much as I can and then put that away and just use it as I need it while it's in the freezer. Next is some dill. Now, dill isn't one of those things that I use just in every single dish, but I do use dill with fish. So you will see me make a lot of dill butter, especially because I am running out of dill butter. One of my easiest wife hacks is to have pre-made little balls of dill butter in the freezer. So whenever I make fish, I just take out my salmon or my cod and I throw the dill butter, the little dill butter ball in there, and just salt and pepper on both sides, and then just baste it, and it's delicious. So dill butter is one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes I'll do like a summer pasta with it. Not really usual. Mainly I just grow it for the dill butter, but then also pickles. Sometimes I'll do pickles too. So I love dill. But the other thing that I love to do is let the butterflies have the dill afterwards. So I will pick all of what I need for dill butter and like some things that I want to, you know, make, which I do still have some dill in the freezer, but I need to grow some more to replace that. But then I let it go. So it looks scary. It looks like it's covered in aphids and everything's bad. And then it gets these monarch caterpillars that go on there and they just chomp that thing down, but then they turn into beautiful butterflies. So if you guys watched my channel last season or last year at this, maybe like end of like early like June, I want to say June, July, that's when I got the butterflies, and they were absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and huge, so huge. And then the next thing I'm going to do is plant some fennel. I like making a couple dishes with fennel, and I like having fennel in my freezer. So I'm going to make sure I plant at least like maybe one or two of those. I don't use it a lot, but when I want to use it, it's sad when I don't have it. And then I'm also going to plant some turnips and radishes. So I have some snowball turnips. These ones you can plant in a very small space and they grow very tiny. And then I have our favorite radishes, which is our French breakfast radish. So let me go show you guys where I'm going to be planting these. Now for the herbs, I'm going to plant them in my Vego herb bed. I'm going to plant the dill right there with maybe some cilantro right here in this spot, or vice versa. I haven't decided yet. And then the fennel I'm going to plant right back there. So I'm just going to add some soil to that area and to this area and this area and plant those herbs. Now I know the soil is really low on these, but I can't do anything about it until these leeks are done, and then I can plant more stuff there. And then last up, I have two random things one I always grow, and then the other one I'm determined, and determination brings success. So we're just gonna keep going with it. But I want to plant an echinacea in my medicinal herb bed. So we're on this side of the garden now. So echinacea in my medicinal herb bed, and then also If you guys have been missing my Malabar spinach, I have been missing my Malabar spinach. I had taken it down just because I trimmed it back one year and it did terrible when I trimmed it back. Well, I trimmed it back too much. Like, I went too far with it. But it had gotten huge. It was taking over things. It was throwing Malabar spinach seeds everywhere. And we just got tired of eating it. Like, typically that's the case in our garden, is that we won't plant things for a while just because we had such an abundance one season or a couple of seasons, and we've been eating it forever. Kind of like our Swiss chard. But now it's like Swiss chard is a whole new thing. So I'm assuming that Malabar spinach is going to be a whole new thing this summer, and we will have a good fresh summer spinach. So let me go show you where these are going. Now for the 2 random seeds, the Malabar spinach is going to go right here. This is where it normally grows, and it climbs up this like little pole right here that has some chicken wire on it. Now it won't be a problem for this guy right here, because this guy will be gone by the time the Malabar spinach is fully climbing. Now, to fill this entire pole like it has been in the past, it does take about 2 years. But the first year it does get probably about to like right there, I want to say, and then by year 2 it is going that way, which is so beautiful and so lovely. I do miss it. Now the echinacea is going to be over here in my herb bed. The goal is to grow the yarrow with some hyssop and then echinacea right back there behind it. So we'll see if that works. All right, guys, that is it. It is time for me to put on some gardening clothes and wait for the sun to come up just a little bit more, because it's cold out here right now. I have on my boots. So I'm gonna put on some gardening clothes and wait for it to warm up, and then I'm gonna start planting all of these seeds. I hope that you guys are having fun in your garden. I hope that you're planning out your spring garden, and it's going to be beautiful, and many blessings to you guys having an amazing, beautiful, bountiful spring garden. But until next time, grow yourselves a garden, because even a small space can provide you with tons of food. Bye, guys.